Okay, so another massive Switch eShop sale is here. We're going to be checking it out today. And as always, I'm covering the US, Canada, UK, Europe, and Australia. And this one, I think it's a real nice mix too. I think deals across the Switch 1 and Switch 2. I've also then got two winners to announce later in the video for two $10 eShop gift cards. Plus, I've got two more up for grabs. Now to enter, it's simple. Drop a comment down below and I'll announce the winners next Saturday. Finally, if you do enjoy this kind of content, consider hitting subscribe and turning on notifications. I am pushing right now for that 100k milestone, so every single subscription, it makes a huge difference. In return, you can expect daily Switch content right here on the channel. Alright, now let's get into it. Nocturnal is 60% off a brand new low price, and here you play as a character that's returning to their homeland. It's been swallowed by this deadly fog, and basically everything here builds around that idea. You know, fire becomes both your weapon and your lifeline. So every swing of your sword, it pushes back the darkness, and the platforming, it constantly tempts you into risky moves just to survive. The combat is sharp and rewarding, it pushes you to stay aggressive, and while the whole thing only lasts a few hours, there are speedrun options available and collectibles, so there's definitely replay value. For me though, it's one of those short but confident indies that knows exactly what it's doing, and it's absolutely worth picking up. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop is 45% off, hitting a new low price. Now here you play as Juliet, a cheerleader who happens to be a zombie slayer too. You're armed with a chainsaw and basically this endless supply of over-the-top attitude. So yeah, it's messy, it's camp, it's full of grindhouse energy, and tons of ridiculous humour. But the original Switch 1 version, or playing this version on Switch 1 should I say, it was unplayable. Not only is it an ugly game, but the performance was so choppy. Now on Switch 2, things smooth out. Dock mode sharpens the image, and frame rate just holds steady enough you can actually enjoy the chaos. Now it's still not a perfect port, but if you want something a little bit weird, ridiculous, and completely of its era, this is the best way right now to experience it. Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy, the definitive edition, is 60% off, matching the low price, and this collection, it had a nightmare launch, but Rockstar, they eventually stepped in, they've patched it, and now it is much closer to really how it always should have been. Now on Switch 2, the frame rate is improved, it's actually locked at 30 FPS, that makes a huge difference, and it finally feels stable enough to enjoy. On Switch 1, I'm not so sure. Having though GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas in handout form, I think it's great. And I've actually been dipping in quite a lot recently. So yeah, look, if you skipped this one because of all of the launch problems or because of the Switch 1, I think if you've got a Switch 2, now it's the best time to give it a try. Sorry We're Closed is 20% off a new low price, and here you play as Michelle. You're cursed by a demon after a painful breakup. Now you're given only a few days before the end of the world. And that ticking clock gives everything this surreal kind of edge. But yeah, weird game. It's kind of like this neon-drenched horror experience. I think exploration, it has a retro Resident Evil feel. But then when you aim your gun, it locks into first person. So yeah, it turns combat into something tense and different. The whole game then flips between worlds, mixing puzzles, atmosphere, and a story that blends horror with, actually surprising amount of heart. So yeah, this game, it's kind of clunky at times on purpose, but incredibly stylish, incredibly experimental, and yeah, unlike anything else on the eShop. See, for me, if you want a horror-adjacent adventure that really stands out, it's an easy one to recommend, and you can find my review below. Long Gone Days is 50% off, also a new low price. Here you play as Rourke, a sniper raised inside this military faction called the Corps. When he discovers, however, his orders, let's say they're not the good guys as such, he deserts this company, and it kicks off a story that's somewhat grounded, it's definitely political, but it's also just very different from most RPGs. The combat though matches that focus, it lets you aim at specific body parts for tactical advantages, and every so often it even shifts into sniper sequences that definitely, really good fun. Dialogue choices then and morale also shape how your allies respond. It makes the narrative just as important as battles. And I think overall I'd say it's not the flashiest RPG, But for me, the themes, the writing, it's what kind of makes it stick. And it's absolutely worth a look if you want something, a little thoughtful and story-driven. Vernal Edge is 60% off, a new low price, and here you're playing as a young woman that's traveling through a kingdom of floating islands in search of her father. Now that story, it's kind of blending revenge and discovery, but it will drive you across these interconnected zones filled with secrets. And the gameplay, it is kind of like classic Metroidvania. I think lots of swordplay, aerial combos, upgrades that keep exploration, rewarding. I spent around 10 hours on my first run, still had plenty left to see, and I think the game just genuinely looks fantastic too. It's got this beautiful, vibrant pixel art and really nice animations. What really caught me though, overall, was actually how much darker and more emotional the story becomes. It's a Metroidvania, yes, but with surprising weight. Astlibra Revision is 25% off, matching the low price. Here you play as a boy guided by a mysterious talking raven. You're thrown into a journey that spans worlds, timelines, and decades of his life. It's an action RPG that was in development for 14 years, and you can feel that scope in every single system. The combat here though, it's fast, it's combo driven, the skill trees, equipment upgrades, loads of customization, and the main story itself then, it actually runs about 40 hours. Plus, there's loads of content beyond that. The visuals then, still images, it doesn't look great honestly, but in motion, it mixes hand-drawn character art with these 2D backdrops. It gives it a really unique feel. And for me, it's one of those rare passion projects that actually lives up to its ambition, and it's an incredible amount of game for the price. 1000 Resist is 30% off, a new low price, and here you're playing as a clone living in this post-apocalyptic future. You've basically been raised to worship the All-Mother. That's the one human who survived this deadly plague. The story though dives into themes of identity, memory, and rebellion as you start to uncover hidden truths about this world. And the gameplay, it's light but effective, mostly exploration and dialogue-driven sequences, but expect the occasional puzzle woven in. But it's this dreamlike experience. The art style is so unique, the soundtrack beautiful, and the writing genuinely powerful. Don't want to give too much away, but for me this is, it's an absolute narrative masterpiece. It's one of the most original stories you can experience on Switch. Death's Gambit Afterlife is 50% off, a new low price, and here you're playing as this soldier that's been struck down in battle and you've been revived by Death himself to act as an agent of vengeance. Now that dark setup leads into a brutal, interconnected world full of towering bosses and tons of traps. The gameplay though, it's very much Souls-like-esque, precise combat, stamina management, and just an unforgiving challenge that rewards patience and skill. Expect multiple classes, branching skill trees, and secrets across its 15-hour runtime. The pixel art then is gorgeous with some incredible animations, and the enemy designs just, wow. Now, performance dips occasionally can be frustrating on Switch 1, but the quality of the game makes it worth pushing through. So for fans of tough but rewarding action platformers, I think this one is essential. Alisa is 30% off, matching the low price, and here you play as Alisa, a royal guard who wakes up trapped in a twisted dollhouse filled with mechanical monstrosities. It's a love letter to old school survival horror, think fixed camera angles, tank controls, and deliberately clunky combat that channels Resident Evil. Exploration is tense, puzzles are clever, and the whole atmosphere is just dripping with, terror, basically. For me though, playing this handheld in the dark felt like a perfect fit. So if you're into retro horror, this is actually one of the best modern throwbacks on Switch. I'd put this right up there with Crow Country. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is next. This is a gem. Now you play as a hero, dropped into a new world where farming, friendships, and dungeon crawling, they all sit side by side. Now the cozy life sim loop is of course here. Think growing crops, raising animals, building relationships, but the action RPG combat is more impressive this time. I think smoother dungeons and bosses, it keeps things really exciting. I have a love-hate relationship with the cozy genre generally. These Rune Factory ones, they keep me entertained. And on Switch 2 then, it looks gorgeous. It's running flawlessly at a higher resolution. Now I will say, the Switch 1 version, the pricing above is for Switch 2. It's a little bit cheaper, about $8 USD cheaper or your regional equivalent. and if you don't mind the drop-in visual clarity, it runs real well there too. For me though, this is the rare cozy game that actually balances kind of chill and challenge. Yeah, absolutely loved my time with it. Our winners of the week then for the two $10 eShop gift cards are on screen right now. Congrats on the win both, email me for the code, and everyone else, drop a comment down below for your chance in next week's video. Wild Hearts S is 10% off a new low price, and here you're playing as a hunter. You're facing down massive nature-infused beasts called Kimono. You'll basically be using a mix of crafted weapons and building mechanics to take them on, and yeah, it's just a Monster Hunter rival basically. Think fast-paced hunts, huge monsters, plenty of gear to chase, and on Switch 2, that's the only way you can play this game. I'll say this, performance is mixed, frame rates can dip and visually it's far from the sharpest, but I think it's still good fun to see this scale of a game running handheld. I also think on other systems it was underappreciated at launch, so even with its flaws, I think there's a lot to like here. So if you want that monster hunting fix on Switch 2, it's absolutely worth a look. And that's it for this week's eShop sale roundup. Honestly, I think it's one of the stronger lineups we've had in a while, a good mix of big names finally in a playable state on Switch 2, alongside indies that really deserve that spotlight. Now I've linked my extra coverage and reviews down below if you do want to dive deeper into a few of these. And as always, do let me know in the comments what you're picking up, or if there's anything you think I slept on. Now, if you enjoyed this breakdown, a like and a subscribe really helps out the channel a huge amount. Plus, I'm going to be back tomorrow with more Switch content, so watch out for that. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.